Ladies and gentlemen, let me share something with you. There's a special quality about a woman who doesn't need to be seen in order to have power. A woman who doesn't need to announce her every action, who doesn't require validation, and who doesn't feel the need to explain herself to the world. Yet, when she walks into a room, the atmosphere changes. The world often tells us that power is loud, that success is defined by attention, but the strongest women of all don't act for the crowd. They move with purpose. When a woman walks in her purpose with quiet confidence and unwavering faith, you can be sure that the results will speak louder than any words could. So listen closely, because what I'm about to say isn't just a speech. It's a message for every woman who's ever been underestimated, overlooked, or made to feel like she wasn't enough. Your silence is not a sign of weakness. It is a strategy, a source of strength. True strength doesn't need to be declared loudly. It doesn't require validation, permission, or a stage to exist. It simply is. It commands attention without ever having to demand it. That's the essence of a strong woman, especially one who follows God. She doesn't need to tell you how strong she is. You see it in the way she carries herself. You feel it in how she moves through life. Her presence speaks volumes, even when her words are silent. Society has it all wrong. It tells you that if you're not loud, you're not powerful. It wants you to believe that if you're not constantly proving yourself, you're somehow unworthy. The world wants you to think that visibility equals value. But the truth is, real power doesn't need to be shown off. It's undeniable. A lion doesn't need to roar to command respect. A mountain doesn't have to move to be held in awe. And a strong woman doesn't need to shout to be heard. Think about the women in history, in the scriptures, or in your own life. The women who made a real impact, were they constantly talking about what they were going to do? Did they explain every step, justifying their decisions? No. They moved in silence, built in the shadows, and let their results speak for themselves. Consider Esther. She didn't demand attention when she entered the palace. She didn't go around telling people she was about to change the world. She moved with wisdom. She prepared quietly, and when the time came, when the moment was right, her actions were louder than any words could ever be. Or think about Ruth. She didn't whine about her losses. She didn't look for sympathy. She worked, she stayed faithful, and moved with quiet confidence. She trusted that her diligence and obedience would take her where she needed to go, and because of that, she ended up stepping into a future that exceeded her wildest dreams. That's how God's strongest women operate. They move with purpose, not for attention. They don't waste time explaining themselves to those who don't understand their calling. Their calling isn't up for debate. It doesn't need the approval of the world. It's something placed inside them by God Himself. And when you truly understand that, when you really know it, the noise of the world becomes irrelevant. The opinions of others don't shake you. The doubts don't hold you back, because you understand that the work you're doing in silence is far more powerful than anything you could ever say aloud. This doesn't mean that a strong woman doesn't face struggles. It doesn't mean she's unaffected by the weight of what she's carrying. The difference is, she doesn't let the struggle make her bitter. She doesn't let hardship cause her to complain loudly. No, she learns, she grows, she prays, and she keeps moving. A weak woman seeks attention. A strong woman seeks progress. A weak woman craves validation. A strong woman craves discipline. A weak woman talks about what she's going to do. A strong woman just does it. How are you moving? Are you seeking approval, or are you chasing purpose? Are you letting the world's standards determine your power, or are you standing firm in the strength that God has already given you? Because let me tell you, when a woman moves in silence, it's not because she has nothing to say. It's because she knows that her actions will speak for themselves. And when the time comes, when she fully steps into her purpose, the world will have no choice but to take notice. Strength speaks without words. And a woman who knows her power, she doesn't need to prove it, she simply is. Faith is not loud. Faith doesn't need an audience. It doesn't require applause. Faith moves quietly, powerfully, and with absolute certainty. That's why the strongest women of God don't chase attention, they chase purpose. They don't seek validation, they seek alignment with God's will. And because of this, they don't waste time explaining themselves to those who were never meant to understand their journey in the first place. The world thrives on noise, thrives on spectacle. It wants you to believe that if no one sees your progress, then it's not happening. It wants you to think that if no one is applauding you, you must not be doing anything worth celebrating. But that's not how faith works. Faith isn't about proving yourself to the world. It's about trusting that God sees everything, even when no one else does. A woman who moves in faith doesn't waste her energy on public approval. She doesn't need everyone to understand what she's doing, because she knows exactly who she's doing it for. She isn't swayed by opinions, nor is she discouraged by silence. She understands that faith is about walking forward, even when there's no spotlight, when no one is watching, and even when it feels like no one believes in her. Because she knows her strength comes from something far greater than human praise. Look at the women in the scriptures who walked by faith. They didn't act for applause. They moved because they believed. Mary didn't need to prove her worthiness when she was chosen to carry the Son of God. She didn't have to convince anyone of the divine purpose she had been given. She accepted it, carried it with grace, and allowed God to use her life as a vessel for something beyond human understanding. She didn't chase validation. She trusted her calling. That's what faith does. It allows a woman to move confidently even when uncertainty looms. It lets her stay focused even when the world is trying to pull her in 1,000 different directions. Because faith isn't about being seen. It's about knowing that God is at work, even when it's invisible. The strongest women of faith don't only believe when things are easy, they believe when everything seems impossible. They keep praying when the answers haven't come. They keep working when progress isn't obvious. They keep moving when the path isn't clear. They know that faith doesn't need proof, it requires trust. When a woman walks in faith, it shows, not because she announces it, not because she demands recognition, but because there's something undeniable about the way she carries herself. She walks differently. She speaks with purpose. She doesn't get caught up in petty arguments or distractions. She doesn't let the world shake her because she knows her foundation is unshakable. A woman like that doesn't respond to every critic. She doesn't try to explain herself to those who will never understand the depth of God's work in her life. She lets them talk, she lets them doubt, and then she lets her faith do the talking. Because in the end, the results will always speak louder than opinions. The world may not understand you. It may not recognize the work you're doing in silence. It might not see the battles you're fighting behind closed doors. But that's okay. Because when a woman moves in faith, she doesn't need the world to see. She only needs God to see. And trust me, He does. So if you've been working in faith quietly with no applause, no recognition, and no validation, keep going. Keep believing, keep trusting. Because the strongest women don't walk for the crowd. They walk for the calling. And when that calling comes from God, nothing can stop what He has set in motion. Not everyone will understand your purpose. Not everyone will support it. And that's perfectly fine, because your purpose was never meant to be a community project, was never meant to be about public approval. It was designed just for you by God. And that means you don't have to explain it, you don't have to justify it, you don't need to ask for permission to walk in it. In life, many individuals spend excessive time trying to convince the world that they are deserving, that they are ready, and that they have what it takes. However, the truth is different. When you are truly walking in the purpose God has set for you, you don't have the time to explain yourself. You don't have time to stop and seek approval from people who don't share the vision God has given you. The moment you stop moving forward to defend yourself, you've already slowed down. A strong woman, a woman of God, doesn't slow down for others' opinions. She doesn't pause her purpose to seek permission. She keeps moving forward. Look at the women in the scriptures who boldly walked in their callings. Esther didn't stand before the people asking, "Do you think I should do this? Do you think I am qualified? Do you think I have what it takes?" No, she moved in silence, prepared in wisdom, and when the time came to step into her purpose, she did so without hesitation. She didn't seek validation, she sought obedience. Mary didn't argue with those who doubted her calling. She didn't waste time trying to convince others that she had been chosen by God for a divine purpose. She simply carried what God had placed in her. And that's what a strong woman does. She carries her purpose even when others don't understand it. The issue today is that too many people need constant approval to feel they are on the right path. They want the world to agree with them before taking any step forward. But let me tell you something. If you're waiting for the world to co-sign your purpose, you'll be waiting forever. Not everyone is meant to understand what God has called you to do. Not everyone will see the vision He has given you, and that's okay. They don't have to see it. They don't have to believe in it. You do. A woman who truly understands her purpose does not chase applause. She doesn't wait for others to approve her decisions. She moves with quiet confidence, knowing that her assignment is bigger than other people's opinions. She understands that purpose is not a debate. It's a calling. And when God calls you, you answer. No explanations, no hesitation, no distractions. People will always have something to say. They will question you, doubt you, and underestimate you. But let me ask you this. Do their opinions change what God has already spoken over your life? Do their doubts cancel out your destiny? No. What God has for you is for you, and nothing, no opinion, no rejection, no misunderstanding can take that away. So why waste time explaining yourself? Why waste energy trying to convince people who were never meant to see your vision? Move in silence. Let your actions speak for you. Let your results be the answer, because at the end of the day, a strong woman doesn't have to prove herself. She walks in her purpose, and the world has no choice but to recognize it. There is something powerful about a woman who doesn't seek validation, a woman who moves with certainty. She may not need to be seen, but her impact is undeniable. She might not say much, but when she moves, things shift. When she works, things change. When she prays, doors open. And when she walks in her purpose, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stop her. So the question is, are you moving for approval, or are you moving in obedience? Are you seeking permission, or are you stepping boldly into your calling? Because the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop looking for permission to be great, that is the moment you step into real power. And when that happens, when a woman of God moves with that kind of confidence, that kind of faith, that kind of purpose, the world won't just notice, it will feel it. Purpose isn't for public opinion, it's for fulfillment. And a woman walking in fulfillment doesn't need to say a word. The results will speak for themselves. Discipline and focus are what separate those who dream from those who achieve. A strong woman understands this. She knows that the loudest person in the room is rarely the most powerful. That's why she moves differently. She isn't distracted by noise, drama, or the opinions of people who have no say in her destiny. She is too focused on building, on growing, on becoming. She understands that discipline is the foundation of true success, and silence is her greatest ally. The world will try to convince you that making noise is the same as making progress, that if you're not constantly posting, talking, or showing your every move, you must not be doing anything at all. But a wise woman knows better. She understands that real growth happens in the quiet moments. The most powerful transformations don't occur on stage, under lights, or in front of an audience. They happen in the unseen hours, in the early mornings, in the late nights, in the sacrifices no one claps for. The problem with most people is that they want recognition before they've done the work. They want applause before they've built the foundation. But a strong woman doesn't move like that. She understands that discipline is about consistency, about showing up even when no one is watching. She doesn't need an audience to validate her efforts. She knows that her reward isn't in the noise, it's in the results. Look at the great women of faith. They didn't succeed because they shouted about their plans. They succeeded because they stayed focused. Ruth didn't spend her days talking about how hard her life was. She got up, worked, remained diligent, and because of that, she walked into a destiny greater than she could have ever imagined. Esther didn't demand immediate recognition. She spent time preparing, strategizing, moving with wisdom, and when the moment came, she was ready. That's what discipline looks like. It's quiet, steady, relentless. It's the decision to keep going even when the process is slow, even when progress isn't obvious, even when the world is telling you to quit. The strongest women don't get distracted by every challenge thrown their way because they don't stop to entertain drama or to respond to every critic or to prove themselves to people who were never meant to understand their journey. They don't waste energy on distractions because they know that every moment spent explaining themselves is a moment lost in their purpose. And that's why silence is a strategy. A woman who moves in silence is not weak. She is focused. She is intentional. She understands that discipline requires shutting out the noise, tuning out the opinions, and staying locked in on what truly matters. She doesn't need to announce her every move because she knows that when the time comes, when the work is done, the results will speak for her. The strongest buildings don't rise overnight. They take time, effort, and patience. The foundation is built before the world even sees what's coming. The same goes for a strong woman. She builds herself in private. She sharpens her skills in the quiet. She does the work when no one is looking, so that when the time comes, she doesn't have to prove herself. The proof is already there. Discipline is what keeps her going when motivation fades. It's what allows her to wake up every day and choose her purpose over her comfort. It's what keeps her focused on the goal, even when the distractions are loud. And because of that, she moves in silence. Not because she's afraid to speak, but because she understands that her time is too valuable to waste on anything that doesn't push her forward. Are you moving with discipline, or are you moving with distraction? Are you chasing validation, or are you chasing purpose? Because the truth is, the strongest women aren't the ones making the most noise. They're the ones putting in the most work. They're the ones who don't need to be seen every step of the way because they know that when the work is finished, the world will see. And when that happens, when a disciplined woman steps fully into her purpose, when the result of her focus, her faith, and her effort are finally revealed, there will be no need for words, no need for explanations, because the results will be undeniable. A strong woman doesn't just hope for success. She prepares for it, she works for it, she stays disciplined for it. And when the time is right, she doesn't need to announce her arrival. The world will already know. A woman of true strength walks with both grace and grit. She moves with elegance, yet she is unshakable. She carries herself with kindness, yet she refuses to be broken. She is both gentle and powerful, soft yet unyielding. This balance, this ability to be both graceful and unbreakable, is what sets her apart. The world often tries to convince women that strength and softness cannot exist together, that you must either be tough and hardened, or a woman who is gentle and easily swayed can still be strong when she knows the truth. Real power lies in the ability to carry both the nurturing heart and the warrior spirit. She stands firm in her faith while showing love, remains humble even when unshakable, and understands that grace is not weakness. It is restraint, the ability to handle situations wisely instead of impulsively. It's the discipline to stay silent when words are not needed, and the wisdom to walk away from battles that don't serve her purpose. Grace is knowing your own power and choosing not to misuse it. Grit is the force that keeps her moving forward when things get tough. It is what gives her the resilience to endure life's storms. It transforms every challenge, every setback, and every disappointment into fuel for progress. Grit is what allows her to keep going when others might give up. Look at the strongest women in Scripture. They didn't let circumstances break them. They carried themselves with grace, but they were far from fragile. They were kind yet not weak. They understood that true power lies in staying composed, even in the face of adversity. Ruth showed grace when she chose humility in the fields, but she also had grit when she refused to let her past dictate her future. Esther demonstrated grace when she approached the king with wisdom, but she had grit when she risked her life to save her people. Mary had grace when she accepted God's calling, but she also had grit when she carried something far greater than herself. This is the kind of strength that is often misunderstood. The world expects strength to be loud, aggressive, and forceful. But a woman who walks in true power doesn't need to raise her voice to be heard. She doesn't need to demand attention to make an impact. She moves with quiet confidence because she knows that her strength is not in how much she fights, but in how well she stands. She doesn't react to every challenge. She doesn't explain herself to those who don't understand her journey. She doesn't waste time trying to prove her worth. Instead, she lets her actions speak for her. She lets her presence command respect without ever demanding it. This is why the strongest women often move in silence. They know that strength is not about force. It's about endurance, wisdom, knowing when to act and when to wait. It's about walking in grace while refusing to be moved by the storms around them. The world may not always recognize this kind of strength. It may mistake kindness for weakness and humility for submission. But those who understand real power know the truth. The woman who can remain steady in the midst of chaos is the most powerful person in the room. The woman who responds with wisdom instead of anger, who endures trials without breaking, and who continues forward when everything tries to hold her back, is unstoppable. If you've ever been told you need to be louder to be heard, harder to be strong, or more aggressive to be taken seriously, understand this. Your strength lies in your ability to remain grounded, poised, and focused. You do not have to become something you are not to prove your power. Your grace is your strength. Your ability to keep moving forward without losing yourself is your greatest weapon. A strong woman doesn't fight every battle. She doesn't seek every spotlight. She doesn't waste her energy on things that don't align with her purpose. She knows that her time, her energy, and her spirit are too valuable to waste on things that don't matter. Because of this, she moves with intention, wisdom, and focus. And when the time comes for her work to be revealed, when the results of her faith, discipline, and endurance finally show, there will be no need for explanations, validation, or noise. A woman who walks with both grace and grit doesn't need to announce her power. The world will feel it. The world often measures success by visibility, by how many people are watching, how much applause you receive, or how much recognition your work gets. But a strong woman knows that success isn't about being seen, it's about impact. True success happens in the quiet, in the unseen moments, in the spaces where no one is watching but God. Success doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in preparation, discipline, and the sacrifices that no one acknowledges. It happens when a woman wakes up early to pray, works on her vision, and builds her foundation long before anyone even knows what she's creating. Success isn't in the applause, it's in the years of effort that lead up to it. That's why the strongest women move in silence. The world may tell you that if no one is watching, your work doesn't matter. Or if people aren't talking about what you're doing, it might not be important. But that's a lie. Some of the most powerful, life-changing work happens behind closed doors. Some of the greatest victories are won in silence, without an audience, without public recognition. Think about the women in Scripture who changed history. Their success wasn't about being famous, it was about being faithful. They weren't concerned with how many people noticed them. They were focused on fulfilling their purpose. Look at the story of Hannah. She prayed in silence, pouring out her heart to God, believing in something no one else could see. She wasn't loud, she wasn't demanding, but she simply trusted that her unseen prayers would be answered. And they were. Look at the Proverbs 31 woman. She wasn't praised for how much attention she got. She was praised for her diligence, her wisdom, and the way she handled her responsibilities with strength and honor. Her success wasn't about being the loudest or the most noticed. It was about the impact she made on those around her. That's what success truly is. Impact, not numbers, followers, or applause. It's the difference you make in the lives of others, the legacy you build, the purpose you fulfill. And impact doesn't require noise. A tree doesn't make a sound as it grows, but its presence changes everything around it. A seed doesn't announce its progress, but over time it becomes something powerful. And this is why a strong woman does not seek attention, she seeks purpose. She doesn't waste time trying to prove herself. She focuses on the work. She keeps building, keeps growing, keeps moving forward, knowing that in the right time, what she's built in silence will be revealed with strength. Some of the most powerful movements in history started in silence. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happened long before anyone noticed. The strongest women don't wait for the world to acknowledge them before they step into their calling. They move forward, trusting that what is done in secret will bear fruit at the right time. A woman who understands this doesn't rush the process. She doesn't force things to happen before their time. She understands that patience is power, that silence is strategy, and that true success is not about how fast you get there, but about how well you prepare along the way. And when she steps into her moment, when the world finally sees the results of her faith, discipline, and endurance, there will be no need for explanations, no need for validation. True success doesn't require permission or an audience. It only requires obedience, commitment, and trust in God's perfect timing. So if you've been working in silence, praying without immediate answers, or moving forward without recognition, keep going, keep trusting, keep building. The strongest women don't wait to be seen to make an impact. They simply do the work. And when the time is right, the world will see what was built in silence. And they won't just see it, they'll feel it. Today, I ask you, are you moving with purpose, or are you moving for approval? Are you walking in faith, or are you waiting for validation? Because let me tell you, the moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop seeking permission to be great, that's the moment you step into real power. Move in silence, let your success be your testimony, let your faith be your foundation, and when the time comes, when God's strongest women move, the world will know. Now, go be who you were created to be.